closing the gap between education and career opportunities. We recognize that students, young professionals, and educators often seek guidance in navigating career paths, and this event was designed to address that need. Just to provide you a comprehensive overview of STEAM careers last year's sessions, we structured them as follows. On the first Saturday, we focus on careers in engineering, data science, physics, and IT, where we explore the impact of technological advancements and data-driven industries. And during the second session, last April 20th, 2024, our focus was careers in health sciences, chemistry, marine science, and agriculture, where we highlighted the role of science in healthcare, sustainability, and environmental conservation. And during the last session, we focused on careers in academia, industry, government, and startups, where we provided insights into various career trajectories and professional growth opportunities. And our mission here remains the same: to connect aspiring professionals with experts who have paved the way in their respective fields. Through their stories, challenges, and career advice, we hope to inspire, educate, and equip you with the knowledge and confidence to pursue your own STEAM journey. In our first session today, we will focus on careers in engineering, data science, physics, and IT. We were honored. These were the speakers last time. Sorry about that. And we had several attendees, as you can see, is increasing in numbers. And if you would like to see the sessions, we have the recordings here. You can just use the QR code so that you can watch the full sessions at your convenience. And these recordings will allow you to gain expert insights on emerging trends in STEAM fields. And you could also revisit our discussions on career opportunities. So, and these are just some of the pictures of the attendees. So let's stay inspired, keep learning, and continue exploring the exciting possibilities in STEAM careers. I officially start this session. Again, this is Dr. Gladys Completo, and together with me is Dr. John Ryan Dison, who will be the co-host. So let me start sharing, and I would like to call on now Dr. John Ryan Dison to introduce the first speaker. Angie, do you have the slides?
Okay. Good morning. Can you hear me, Gladys, President?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning. Yeah. Let me introduce the first speaker. But before I do that, I would like to introduce myself. My name is John Ryan Dizon from Bataan Peninsula State University. You can just call me Kokoy. Okay, our first speaker is Dr. Anthony S.F. Chiu. He is the Vice President for External Relations and Internationalization, Presidential Advisor on Sustainability, University Fellow and Distinguished Full Professor in Industrial and Systems Engineering at De La Salle University. He co-authored more than 200 UN Development Project manuscripts and indexed journal articles in the SDG 12 Sustainable Consumption and Production area, including Nature and PNAS articles. Dr. Anthony also has served the national government as the Pollution Adjudication Board member, rank of commissioner, since 2004 to present. He is an official delegate of the Philippine government in various UN summits, that is the Rio Plus 20, UNEA 6, and SDG Roadmap. He is a member of the UN International Resource Panel and the founding editor-in-chief of the Elsevier Journal of Cleaner and Responsible Consumption. He is currently president of the International Foundation for Production Research. So, uh, President Gladys, si Dr. Chiu, we have the same major, ano, pareho kaming industrial engineer. So I'm very excited and glad to introduce and learn from him today, together with all of us. So let us all give him a warm welcome, a round of applause to Dr. Anthony S.F. Chiu. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Kokoy.
Kokoy, yeah.
Long time no see, pare.
Yeah, po.
Okay, I was told I have 15 minutes, and today it's more about career, no? So, siguro instead of talking about thematic issues, I would go into my career and then share with you how I got into the different responsibility. So, may I share my I'll share, no, my screen. You already have my. Okay, I will share my screen. Just a moment. Let me go to my slides. Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay. So, magandang
Yes.
umaga. Okay, magandang umaga sa inyo lahat. If we have audience from the US, magandang gabi o maayong gabi sa mga kabisaya. So, what happened here is that it is a 15-minute presentation first, and then maybe later we have a panel discussion or Q&A yata, no? So I entitled my short presentation as Engineering Career Contribution to the Global Sustainable Development. And that's the story, no, of my life. I just retired last year in August as a professor. So currently, I took up a new responsibility in my university as the vice president. So more on administration side and no more on research. Okay. So, konting background muna on education. So, I graduated mechanical engineering from De La Salle University. I took up, no, pareho kami ni Kokoy, industrial engineering at the Asian Institute of Technology. That time, mahirap konti lang yung scholarship available during my time, no? Ngayon marami na. So we have the ERDT, DOST, ERDT, and many more opportunities. During my time, 1980, konti lang opportunity. So Asian AIT is one of the most generous, no, na institute that has abundance of scholarship. Hanggang ngayon, no, they are still offering pero more limited scholarship. Then after that, after the two engineering degree, dahil meron na akong konting management background, I pursued a postgrad certificate in management. At that time, there was a opportunity also. I have free access to do this in UC Berkeley. And upon returning to the Philippines in 1988, December, I was teaching in Salle. So part-time that time, and as you know, at that time, the Salle transformed into multiversity under the vision of Brother Andrew Gonzalez. So at that time also, habang wala pang doctor degree, we still accept full-time faculty without doctor degree. No? So I was able to teach in the Salle full-time while doing my doctor degree. But since that time, if I'm not mistaken, wala pa yata kaming PhD in engineering, or not many program in PhD in engineering. So the available program was Doctor in Business Administration, which I was which I am definitely a beneficiary kasi from here I was able to learn also on the more on the management tool, no? Of course, for the whole world, no, evolved into three major development, which is medical science with the discovery of DNA concept, then the sustainable development came up, and also the IT, no? So at that time, I selected cleaner production, which is a entry point for the industrial engineering, especially on production management, that can enter into the area of sustainable development. So I returned to AIT in 1999 to do a postgrad certificate in cleaner production so that I have a whole picture. So I am very thankful to the three universities that provided me with all those educational preparation. So my current responsibility, after I retired as a professor in August last year, when I became also turned into a senior citizen, I joined the administration. So currently, I took up the responsibility of vice president for internationalization and of course external relations. Riding on my 35 years of experience working with the United Nations, which I will discuss. And also because of my main responsibility with the United Nations and DENR are on sustainability, I also take care of the advising role on sustainability and other sustainability related issues in our university. Thanks to the SALs that allow us officially a 10% of our time can be spent on consultancy, so the professor will have a hands-on and not just only on the theory around inside the four walls of a classroom. The 10% consultancy opportunity brought me to work with the United Nations from 1997 until this coming June, in which I have completed my 10-year service as a member of the UN International Resource Panel. If you are, that is one responsibility. And earlier, I was also working on the cleaner production worldwide network, and I was serving as a regional executive for Asia Pacific. Now, all these responsibility, half of them are more on technical and management of project, but the other half is really on interconnection, connectivity among the expert in the end, global expert, including regional expert. So the second one brought me to familiarity with almost most of the major universities and research institutions in Asia Pacific. There are 68 countries, or we call it member states. While the first one brought me also close to more than 120 countries experts. So those are very important experience I am bringing to my new responsibility as the VP for internationalization. Another important role of being a professor in De La Salle University, aside from teaching and research, is our social engagement. So on the social engagement, many professors chose to give lecture to community or do social work in community. They chose to serve our national government. So when Bebet Gozon returned to the Philippines from World Bank, I told her that I am more than willing now to serve the DNR if there is any responsibility that I can work as a volunteer. So this one is without salary, no? This is gratis. What happened here is the next year, Bebet Gozon in 2004 invited me to become the member of the Pollution Adjudication Board, which is equivalent to a regional trial court, and I will give you some views later. Because of my role in the Pollution Adjudication Board, formerly it is the Commission of Environmental Protection, before the 1986 Constitution. This brought me also opportunity to represent officially our national government in all major negotiation at the UN level. That includes the Rio +10, Rio +20, and the CST 1819. Now, when we call CST 18, we have 11 hanggang 19, and then the next one, it's not called CST 19, it's called Rio 2020. So that's how this was named. And during that process, I also get involved in the writing and preparation of the SDG, which you are now using, the 17 SDG. And the most recent one, I'm also in the national government delegation to the United Nations Environment Assembly 6 last year in February. And I was also appointed to the 3R Forum as the permanent representative of our government, which is 3R, meaning reduce, reuse, and recycle. So that was the earlier version of the so-called circular economy. So again, I am indebted to all these three organizations, De La Salle University, United Nations, and DNR, for providing me all the opportunity to develop my skill and capability. So that was my picture in the official delegation at the Philippine desk in the UN General Assembly Hall. Coming back to my university responsibility now, having an engineering background is also very important, because I realized with my new responsibility that Salle has 1,200 schools in 80 countries. 10% of them were university. So the earliest one was founded by our founder 350 years ago, and the earliest one in the Philippines in 1911. So you can see that in our main campus in Manila, Taft, and the new campus in Laguna, Binyan, no? We focus a lot also not only on humanities and liberal arts, but in new engineering programs. So we introduced the aeronautical engineering, and also si Nilo Buktay leading the biomedical engineering, which is a lead DOST project, no, in our country. So both of them use a lot of AI, robotics, automations, and software engineering in solving real-world engineering problems. So we provided a very conducive research environment and teaching environment in this new campus. We just launched or inaugurated 2 new buildings, and one is coming up very soon. We have also done, which will be in the marine technology, published also. I had a paper in Nature, while we have a paper also in Science published by Al Liquanan on coral reef, no study, and we have a marine station in Batangas. Coming to the DNR, so the courtroom here you saw is a pollution adjudication board. Dito, maganda ang application is using my engineering background, okay, to adjudicate and make a decision, a sound decision on the compliance, non-compliance, preventative, and solving end of the pipe problems, no, of pollution in the various industry and sectors. We also look only into the water and the stationary air. Now, kasi the mobile air is under DOTR, while the solid waste is under the DILG. So the DNR is only taking care of the water pollution problem. So dito talagang we can apply our knowledge and contribute much more to our national development. Also important is that many people will think that an engineer may just end up in a factory or in a power plant or in a major engineering project, no? But we can also contribute to our national development in different dimensions, including the judicial body. This is equivalent to a regional trial court. A good example is that we closed down the 2 major lanes of the South Superhighway, no? When the diesel pipeline leak, no, and the diesel leak into the basement parking of the West Tower. Now, if you remember, that happened only less than 10 years ago. Being in the adjudication board, I represent our government in the negotiation. So all the negotiation about the environmental, about the plastic waste in ocean, etc., were also discussed, no, in the UN level, and that brought me to a wider scope. This is the latest one, the UNEA 6, United Nations Environment 6, and I was sitting quite here in the front and was able to meet with many director general of the various UN agency, because they are reporting on biodiversity, on the pollution, and on the climate change. These are the 3 identified crises of the planet for these recent years. Okay, so I also did intervention, especially when it is to the interest, no, of our country. The one I worked with the IP in the International Resource Panel This is in parallel with the IPCC on climate change and IBES, which is on biodiversity. I mentioned to you, these are the three planetary crises right now. And under this one, I was able to work with the global expert. If you will look at the picture, there are 38 members in these, currently 38 members. Almost most of them are the national director of the National Academy of Science or the national director of the National Institute of Research. And through the interaction with these people, we co-author several technical manual, and it is also from there we have all the opportunity of transforming or bringing those research findings into major publication in the journal. And that also brings, of course, honor to our country, wherein Philippines will be seen in the radar of global discovery and new research output. Unfortunately, I already finished my 10-year term and I decided to retire this year. I am not accepting another year of another cycle of renewal, which will take another 4 years. So upon my departure from the International Resource Panel, there will be no ASEAN citizen. I'm the only ASEAN citizen in the International Resource Panel. Most of them are from China, India, Australia, and Japan. Then the rest are European and Americans. And one or two African, I think, yeah. Elias is the president of the United Nations University in Ghana. And I think there's another one only. So there are only two African and zero ASEAN after I stepped down in this coming June. So our main responsibility is more on the technical data analysis of the SDG 12, which also cover many other SDG, and we have a lot of publications you can download for free from the internet, from the website. Another responsibility is on number 9, industrialization. That is my major work now, IE. So here I represent the Asia Pacific region in the early days, 2016, if you see at the background, with the Director General of UNITO, and the other members are the coordinator of each continent. So that's all my presentation this morning. But of course, no man is an island. We cannot do everything ourselves, especially if you go into research. We need a publication of a big team, especially global team. I work with different organizations almost on a daily basis, and I will continue working with them now being the VP of LaSalle on internationalization. Thank you very much. I stop sharing. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Anthony.
Thank you, Dr. Chiu. President?
Yes, so I hope the students here got excited hearing from Anthony that being an engineer doesn't just limit you to work, in industrial companies, but you can actually work on commission on sustainable development.
President Gladys, one more, no?
Yes.
I won the PAASE award last year, no?
Yes.
2 years ago. So everyone work hard so that they will be our awardee in the future. I'm now in the committee selection.
Yes, thank you very much, Anthony. And I really do hope na our students here got inspired. And yes, you can see he worked also with global experts, international research as a panelist. And by being an engineer, he was able to apply his knowledge in, attaining one of the SDGs, SDG 9, which is on industry, innovation, and infrastructure. So please stay with us, Anthony.
Sure.
And then after the 3 more speakers, we'll have a Q&A. But for those students who are already very excited, we have 44 participants right now. You can start writing your questions directly on the chat box. Please feel free to ask questions to Anthony if you would like to start your questions now. So I would like to move on to the next speaker, Sherwin Uap. Dr. Sherwin Uap. I actually met him last year, and the minute I learned about his expertise, I told him that, would you be willing to give your experience in one of our steer career orientation. So let me introduce our next speaker, Dr. Sherwin Uap. He serves as the president of Kaizen Robotics Corporation, the director for programs at Pilipinas Shell Foundation Incorporated, and the chairperson of the STEM Leadership Alliance Philippines, or SLA Philippines. He has been recognized with 3 of Shell's highest global honors for his groundbreaking innovations in supply chain management. Sherwin is dedicated to making robotics education accessible to everyone here in the Philippines. He believes that the multidisciplinary nature of robotics can drive innovation and equip our workforce with advanced skills to meet the modern demands of the world. To date, his efforts have led to 10 basic education schools successfully incorporating robotics into their core curriculum, reaching thousands of students. The overwhelming positive feedback from teachers, students, and parents has been incredibly motivating, inspiring him to expand this initiative on a nationwide scale. And recently, Sherwin was honored with the prestigious Asia Leaders Awards, where he was named among the men and women of power and purpose. Celebrated for his contributions as a nation builder, Sherwin is dedicated to transforming the Philippines into a global technology powerhouse. So without further ado, let us all welcome Dr. Sherwin Uap. And let's give him a virtual round of applause, please. Sherwin, are you ready?
Thank you. Good to see you again. Sir Anthony. Yeah. Let me share my screen.
Sure.
It sounds. Okay, good morning. You can see it now? Yeah. Okay, on the rare occasion that I would go to the malls, I picked up this book entitled Ikigai. It's the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. So apparently, the story goes that the author wanted to seek the secret, and they went to one of the towns in Japan where they have the most number of centenarians, pinakamahaba yung buhay. So they went there and then wanted to ask, no, ano bang sikreto? What was the secret to a long and happy life? And what they said was it's because they found their ikigai, or a reason for living, or purpose of living. And they discussed further that it's the intersection between what you love, what you're good at, what you can get paid for, and what the world needs. Now I know this is supposed to be a career talk, but I'd like to share my journey in robotics, and how through the power of fun I was able to find my own ikigai. So bear with me. Let me move on to the next slide. So if you asked me before the pandemic, around before 2020, if you asked me, what do you do for a living? I would have said, I'm an executive for a multinational energy company that handles these number of people that you see here. This picture in the middle was actually taken when I was the general manager for the largest oil storage facility here in the Philippines. It was the Pandacan Oil Terminal. I was managing it for the 3 oil majors at that time: Shell, Petron, and Chevron. So they took me in as the head for that one. And then a number of other supply chain management roles. So I was basically a leader managing people on technical things. But when I turned 40, I did some soul searching, and I asked myself, what do I really love? Uh, so what I really love was apparently things that I do on my break time, especially during the December holidays. I find myself doing all sorts, creating all sorts of gadgets, all sorts of stuff. So in this, I think it was during that time as well, in 20, I think 2017. I created a couple of these items like a powered skateboard. On the left, you will see a PVC pipe with camera on the other end. So when I do my skateboarding, it appears that there's a camera following me 360 degrees. So these are the type of things that I like to do. So creating things. And then also I really love watching um, sci-fi movies like these. You familiar with that? So um, I realized that wow, during the pandemic, I have a lot of time in my hand. I used to travel a lot for work, but because of the pandemic, I it got me a lot of time just staying at home. So I said, why not make why not learn something new? So even though I took up manufacturing engineering and management in college, it's robotics engineering basically. Things change, you know, in every maybe 3 4 years. Technology changes, so there are a lot of new things that I wanted to catch up on and learn. So I decided to use my what I love to do, like the sci-fi movies here and creating things, and started to relearn robotics. So in robotics, when you do programming, the first program that you do is Hello World. Think some of you might know that. And when you pick up a book, you'll see Hello World. But in robotics, I think the your Hello World is actually making the LED lights blink, because robotics is a multidisciplinary field wherein you not only use programming, but you also use mechanical, electrical, and even critical thinking, and combine that all together to create innovations and we create robots. Yeah. So with this simple project in I call this the traffic light project. You can actually bridge the gap between programming in just the computer and now going into the real world. So this is how I started with my robotics journey, and then of course eventually learning the learnings from that you pick up and then you put it into ano naman robots or motors, and I me being Chinese and makuripot, so I really wanted to find ways for me to learn robotics in the lowest cost possible. So if you will see here, I just pick up Pringles and call these Pringle bots. And then eventually I learned to 3D print. So to 3D print, then now you can now join TikTok. I'm really know how to dance, so I said okay. Actually shown in a couple of uh, morning shows and other features. Because students tend to, or even adults really enjoy robotics. And then the 3D printing, and then I use artificial. I learned to use visual systems in artificial intelligence, and now you can do this. This I call this the project Real Steel, wherein the robot follows your hands. And this is actually an IoT project. So my the robot will follow my hands even though it's not beside me. It's wireless and it's actually through the internet. So it can be in another place in the world and I can still control it and it will still follow me. And then not only did I want to learn how to use to control mechanical things, like you can also learn to control human beings from this project, for example. Ay, sorry. See.
So it is the human puppet experiment.
I'm sure if you can see it, I'm blindfolded here, and then my wife, when my wife moves, I can actually move mine through these gadgets here. Of course, what I love about robotics is that it's okay to make mistakes, and it's actually making it makes you resilient and try to solve problems. Here's one of the mistakes that happened. So that's my wife. She usually peeks at my sort of lab at home every night. But after this incident, so she stopped visiting me in my lab, and then eventually tried to learn uh, to control things with brainwaves. So from my mind, so I call this the Professor X uh, Professor X program. He controlled robot hand. So and it can also control the wheelchair, for example, just like Professor X in X-Men. What I what I discovered was there is actually a fun and fast way to learn robotics and create innovations. Um, and let me just quote Maya Angelou here. He says, "You can only become truly accomplished at something that you love and pursue the things that you love and do them so well that people can't take their eyes off of you." So it's really what happened in my case. So since I started sharing videos of my creations, I suddenly got text messages from my friends one night, and they're saying, "Hey, you're on TV." So this is like my first
Hindi
appearance
lang
on
basta
TV.
patok ang may naimbento namang face shield na ganito kapag nakasalubong mo ang iyong inaanak sa mall. Ayun, di ba? Tinted na ang face shield. Hindi ka na makikilala.
Found that if you inject
Hindi
humor,
lang
it really creates more interest in some people. I'd like to share with you one intro video that was created by GMA for me before when I was a guest in their show.
Ate Marites at Plantito. Hindi sila ang mga kapitbahay mo, kundi mga paandar na imbensyon ng Pinoy inventor na si Sherwin Uap ng Taguig City. Dalawa lamang ito sa lampas sa 100 robot at gadget inventions ni Sherwin na masasabi nating #Proudly Pinoy. Ang mga likha ni Sherwin, certified user-friendly na talaga raw mapapakinabangan ng everyone sa kanilang pang-araw-araw na gawain gaya ng pagdidilig,
Pakipatay ng ilaw.
pagsindi at pagpatay ng ilaw at ventilador. Pangarap nga raw ni Sherwin na maging technology and robotics powerhouse ang Pilipinas, kaya naman sa pamamagitan ng kanyang mga imbensyon, nais niyang magbigay pa ng dagdag kaalaman sa pamamagitan ng pagtuturo ng coding at robotics. Kaya naman this morning, sabay-sabay tayong bumilib sa kanyang mga amazing inventions.
So because of all these the publications, TV, and I even get invited to be speaker internationally. Last year, I was invited to Bangkok for a multinational engagement, as well as for example this one. These are experts in robotics that wanted to learn more about certain projects that I've done. Um, a lot of GMA appearances. One of my friends actually asked me if I'm already a mainstay in say unang hirit in GMA. Ano? The DICT invited me to uh, showcase creations in their main office in Quezon City. Okay, so because of all that, apparently you get a lot of opportunities for business. So because of all the interest, as well as the people needing help with, say, schools requiring support for curriculum development in their schools, um, automation requirements during the pandemic time, and all these things. I was able to, well, I needed to create a company to be able to charge them na, no? Because I can't do everything for free most of the time. So guys, I created Kaizen Robotics, and then Kaizen Robotics in just 2 years time became the highest number, the supplier for the Arduinos. These are the authentic Arduinos or microcontrollers, which bridges the gap between the computer and the real world through robotics, through controlling motors, through getting information from sensors. So that's what the microcontrollers or microcomputers do. So I also sold the company also sold the highest number of boards like the Raspberry Pi in the country. Then we formed partnerships with schools. Um, Entertainment industry is one of the fun things that I do. We create rover robots. Maybe in a few years, we'll be doing concerts like the K-pop concerts that you see. We also do R&D projects as well as hospitality industry projects, creating mga themed rooms. If you will see here, there's the projects like Asgard as well as the Red Light Green Light project. There are a lot of other things that we do, but what I'm focused right now is what the world needs. What the world needs, in my view, is when I saw this visual graph, so we may be familiar with innovations, but I think that there are certain innovations in this in our world that changed how the way we live. For example, the earliest would probably be 100,000 of years ago when human beings learned how to control and create fire. So all of a sudden, they now are able to travel at night. They can use fire to fend off yung mga predators. They are more productive and they can cook food, for example. So that changed the world. And then there are a number of waves in the past 200 years, waves of innovation in the past 200 years. Like first wave was hydropower, and then steam power. Now meron ng mga trains, electricity. And then the fifth wave of innovation was on the internet. So all of a sudden, you don't really need to go to other countries to be able to talk to each other face to face. And there's now TV is parang obsolete na because there's already social media, YouTube, and all these things. So uh, it changed the world, But the experts are saying that 2020 onwards, the new wave of innovation is actually about artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, robotics, drones, and clean technology. And all these things, to be able to thrive in this new world, you have to be very good in STEAM. That's science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics. Although in the Philippines, I think they wanna call it agriculture, yung E, no? So, unfortunately, while that is needed, we all know that the PISA ranking for the past 4 years in 2018 and 2022, we were ranked lowest, in math, science, as well as in reading and comprehension. That's why I think it's important that I have to shift my career towards helping the country solve problems. So I realized that my ikigai is actually to make the Philippines a technology powerhouse with the strategy of basically making robotics from all. But because I believe that the multidisciplinary nature of robotics will help the country be more innovative, get students interested in science. If you will see here, these are all the students that I've engaged with last year alone. These are thousands of students. We work with schools to be able to develop curriculums so that they will be taught robotics, especially for the public schools, no, where they don't have funds for robotics laboratories. So we give them that. So this is the time that I realized na mababaw pala yung luha ko every time I go to schools. Like when they send me messages on the lower left, you will see pictures of handwritten messages of these kids that are very thankful for them to have robotics in their class. They found new passion, they found new career paths, and it's good, because I get to see that these kids will can change their future. I know that for a fact that uh, the skills that they will get out of this will be very important in the field that they choose. So I guess that's 15 minutes. So let me just end with this. So I was honored as one of the men and women of power and purpose, including a few articles written about me. It's very, very flattering, but of course, that's not what I intended to do. Really, it's just I'm very happy that I was able to find my reason for living, or my ikigai, and it was through the power of fun. So hopefully, through this talk, I was able to inspire you to find your own ikigai. With that, magandang umaga sa lahat, and look forward to talking to you during the question and answer open forum. See you guys.
Thank you very much, Sherwin.
Thank you, Sherwin.
My God, it was really very inspiring. Finding your ikigai, a reason for living. Sabi mo mababaw ang luha and then just listening or watching your experience and your career really touched me. And I'm sure you also touch a lot of hearts right now, those who are listening and watching. So the key is to know what you love and your passion, and know what you're good at, and focus on that profession, because we all need to earn. You need to earn. And after doing that and being an expert, we need to give back. So maraming salamat, Sherwin. It was really an honor to be able to invite you and for you to share what you've been working on. And please stay, and we'll have Q&A portion. And for those students who would like to ask Sherwin, please feel free to write on the chat box. And talking about ikigai, I'm sure the next speaker, okay, I really know him. It's been more than 10 years already that I've known Mel, and he is really also a good example of a person who's really doing what he loves and sharing it to our country. So let me introduce Dr. Emmanuel V. Garcia. He is an assistant professor at the chemistry department of De La Salle University, Manila. He is currently the director of the La Salle Food and Water Institute, which allows him to fuse together his passion for coffee science and interest in food bioanalytical research, while simultaneously advocating for chemistry education, especially on these two fields of study. So he has been active and creative science educator who once served as a president of the Philippine Association of Chemistry Teachers in 2016 and developed a coffee science elective course in De La Salle University. As current chairperson of the Philippine Coffee Guild, he aims to support the development of the coffee industry in the Philippines through his research pursuits, as manifested by his previous publications on coffee. His present studies focus on the application of stable isotope techniques for origin identification and traceability of coffee and cacao beans in the Philippines. Without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Dr. Mel Garcia. Mel, galingan mo.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Miss Gladys. Thank you, PAASE, for inviting me to share a huge part of my life, especially career-wise. No? And of course, it's a privilege for me to share what I'm doing and my experiences with our budding scientists. No? Hopefully, this would help them think about their path towards what they want to become. All right. So, well, I'm just going to tell you basically the that part of my career, my life where I dabbled in coffee. So, it all started sometime in 2005. I'm a bit of a late bloomer in this arena because the interest in science in coffee did not really come until uh, sometime in the 2010s, no? And that is mainly because of the advent of a subsector in the coffee industry known as specialty coffee. There was really no way for me to get into this earlier than that because without specialty coffee, there really wouldn't be as much interest in science and things to be done in science in coffee. But anyway, going back to this timeline in 2000, before I actually got into coffee, uh, I was supposed to be doing polymer chemistry. But then my advisor migrated to another country and I was orphaned and became part of a food bioanalytical research group. But I have to admit I wasn't really quite interested in what were being done there because it was about mainly cruciferous vegetables, no? So, mga broccoli, ganon. I didn't actually see myself as being a scientist on broccoli because it wasn't ano ba, didn't seem like fun for me. So, but fortunately, I just kept on doing my stuff, no, for doing science, just to keep myself uh, updated, and my skills are always updated as well. So that when the time comes, then that I do actually may apply what I know and my skills to something that really interests me. Hopefully, it would come, and well, somehow it did. I'd be ready. I'm a firm believer in just letting the universe unfold, and then as long as you stick to your craft and doing what you really think you're good at, the opportunities will come. The opportunities come to those people who are prepared. So just really wanted to prepare myself for whatever would come, and it did come in the form of something figuratively not good. No, literally, it's also kind of crap. Sometime in 2005, I was gallivanting in somewhere in Tagaytay, and I came across a coffee that was pretty exotic and expensive. It's civet coffee, right? It's in the Philippines, it's called kapeng alamid. In Indonesia, it's kopi luwak. Let's not talk about the history of how how it came to be a drink, no? Of course, you're probably asking who was the first person who actually tried it. But anyway, that's for another discussion. So when I ordered this, as adventurous as I am when it comes to food and a lot traveling, the first question that popped out of my mind wasn't really about is it good or not. The first question, I think it had to do with my science training, was how sure am I that the coffee that was served to me is actually the real uh, SH asterisk T. All right. Is this the real thing? So that question I brought back to Manila. It was between classes actually. That was when there was not much traffic. Between my two classes at DLSU, I actually was able to go to Tagaytay to have lunch and coffee. When I came back to the campus in the afternoon for my next class, uh, it became a serious problem already. And how can we actually authenticate civet coffee? And then several years later, I had the uh, what you call this wonderful chance to meet Professor Carlito Lebrilla. He's not the guy in the picture. Uh, in a PAASE meeting, I think. Oh, sorry, it was the Philippine Chemistry Congress in Naga. And I approached him and I told him that the instruments that he's using in his lab are actually the stuff that I would be needing for pursuing a more elaborate study on civet coffee. And it turned out, providentially, that at that time they were just a few months from it was just a few months after the University of California at Davis launched their coffee center, which is headed by this guy on the slide that you're on the photo that you're looking at now, Bill Ristenpart, right? So uh, again, very lucky. I ended up doing research at UC Davis, doing metabolomics on civet coffee, right? Let's not talk about the results yet, maybe later in the open forum. So it was at this point where I also got to meet Bill Ristenpart, who was heading the UC Davis Coffee Center. It was just a single laboratory back then, but it is now an entire building now at inside their campus, courtesy of huge funding and sponsors from different coffee businesses or companies, right? So, of course, we had several more chances of having Bill talking about coffee online and in person here in the Philippines. So, when I came back to the Philippines, uh, I gave a round of information dissemination about the results of that study on civet coffee. And in one of those, what you call this, lectures in Batangas city, I got to meet a group of farmers who whose leader was a little bit into science. He's not a science major. I think he's a computer technology graduate, but he went into farming coffee, and there was just so much enthusiasm about coffee science that this became my first community engagement with regards to coffee. And this group is called the Samahang Magkakape ng Lipa. Their problem was, of course, they had they told me that the civet coffee results, the study was cute. Of course, they also are producing this in the mountains of Batangas, particularly in Mount Malaraya. But the bigger interest for them was how can we take advantage of this so-called science to help us earn more by producing more and by producing better quality coffee. Because at that time, their coffee was really, in the words of my friends at UC Davis, who I sent some samples to before, um, undrinkable. So yeah. Uh, so I ended up visiting Lipa more frequently that time, and thankfully, La Salle allows me, gives me a lot of time just going around. We don't have a daily time record at the LSU, so anytime we we have to go outside campus or off campus, we can. All right. So plenty of field work, plenty of interactions with the farmers, and give them a blind test of their coffees and some of the really good coffees whose values are what they actually intend their coffees to get to that level, right? And interestingly, uh, in this particular activity, as an anecdote, they mentioned that the coffee that they didn't like the most, they liked the least, was the most expensive coffee in the lineup, something that I bought for 2,000 pesos at that time for 200 grams. It's an Ethiopian coffee. And the coffee that they preferred was actually a really burnt coffee that I bought from a supermarket. They weren't even able to recognize their own coffee, the coffee that they're growing in their province. So this was an eye opener to all of them, and I think that also helped them warm to the idea that we need to really take some science seriously. At least that would be on my end, helping them executing proper um, the proper application of science in improving, number one, the quality of their coffee, and then number two, eventually the production, the volume of their coffee. So fast forward to today, they are already very popular. Their coffees are being coveted by specialty cafes. The first one is of those patrons is Habitual Coffee in Makati. They're now exporting coffee to the United States and Japan. The problem now is coping with the volume demand, which is a good problem. At least the quality is already there. So with that interaction with those farmers, I got to interact with more producers, farmers all over the country, and in these interactions, I also ended up meeting other coffee professionals in the value chain, like baristas, who have been obviously following world championships, like this one, and we're delighted to know that the science and the tools that were being showcased in the world championships are actually available in the country. The baristas were surprised na, uy, meron palang mga gas chromatograph mass spectrometers dito sa Pilipinas. And that was because we were going around talking about coffee science. So, for example, this one, in this routine of the eventual world champion in 2019, it was essentially a lecture on carbohydrates, posing as a barista routine. And it wasn't surprising because the world champion was actually working with and developed her 15-minute routine during the competitions with a university in Korea. So now that baristas were aware that we can do some science in the Philippines, we have laser diffractometers, we have GCMS, we have LCs, all of those stuff. We were able to, friends of mine in the coffee industry came up with the idea of doing coffee science meetups. We go around different cafes, farms, roasteries, warehouses, to talk about particular topics in coffee, and also for them to be aware that there are institutions or agencies in the Philippines that can cater to their curiosities. From the really trivial ones like, why is this grinder so expensive? The grinder that you're looking at on the screen right now, the one that the lady, a former senior high school student of mine, is holding, is actually a 25 to 27,000 peso manual grinder. It's even more expensive than some electric grinders. So the question is, why is this expensive? How do we assess its performance? Of course, we have to do science, and we did some laser diffraction, SEM studies, comparing different manual grinders. And this piqued the curiosities of more coffee professionals in the Philippines, because they now are seeing and realizing that there are actually scientists, there are science equipment all over the country that can help them answer some of their questions or curiosities. As a proof of concept, I invited one coffee professional, like Valdez. She's probably the only most certified coffee professional in the Philippines. She's an internationally recognized coffee competition judge. She was part of the coffee professional team that designed this study together with my students. And from then on, there have been plenty of students already approaching us, and I've been referring to them to other schools. Of course, just so they know that there are opportunities for them to actually feed their curiosities. And then because of this, somehow I got involved with the coffee industry at large. I became part of the Philippine Coffee Guild, which is the one that is one of the co-organizers of the annual Philippine Coffee Quality Competitions, where farmers submit their harvest for evaluation and an eventual auction. So if you look at this table, I don't know if you are familiar with the coffee prices, but these are astronomical prices for coffee. Typically, an Arabica would cost around $5 to $7 per kilo, and uh, even the cheapest in this top 12 is at least twice that value. All right. There's one there that's $91 per kilo. So this competition somehow to this day has been helping farmers, the local coffee sector, improve the quality of coffee and the volume, because farmers are now actually more interested in farming coffee than before, because ngayon nakikita na nila that there is money in cultivating coffee, unlike before, right? But with this competition comes some ugly stuff. Of course, you know this. You would expect that some people would probably be selling mislabeled coffees, trying to pass them off as award-winning coffees. So again, this problem was thrown to us, and cut the long story short, yung mga chismis about the competitions turned into actual research problems. So we launched a food authenticity and traceability program with the Philippine Nuclear Research Institute. The guy at the cabeza of the table is actually the program lead. His name is very, I mean, young but really very productive, prolific scientist, Dr. Angel Bautista. I headed the coffee and cacao traceability project under this program, and in collaboration with the coffee industry, the Philippine Coffee Quality Competition, we were able to gather samples to conduct the study, because this is a nationwide endeavor, and we've been really doing great strides with this project. We just recently published it 2 weeks ago, one of hopefully several papers from this program. This is actually the masteral thesis of the lady in the picture. Krisha Hines is my student. Right? So what has been going on? Again, just letting the universe unfold, unravel. One collaboration, one interaction leads to another. We get to different provinces and regions and farms, getting to know more agencies and people, and letting them know how science can actually help them, as we have successfully done so with our previous engagements. So fortunately for me, just like what the previous speaker mentioned, Sir Sherwin, parang ikigai nga ito, because I love the outdoors, I love traveling. So this is a legitimate excuse for me to actually travel a lot, going to coffee farms, working on coffee. Well, I do love the outdoors. I was the advisor of the Salle Outdoor Club for 20 years after graduating from college, because I was also a member of that during my undergraduate years, until my body told me I can't do it anymore. So that's that. All right. The coffee industry, the production of coffee is it's a wide value chain, from cultivation all the way to storage, transportation, to roasting, to brewing, as well as marketing. And I will tell you, in all of these aspects of the coffee value chain, there is a huge demand for scientific undertaking. Some marketing, for example, there are a lot of studies that can be done on, say, for example, packaging design, whether it's in terms of the material and the design itself, the labeling, the colors, coffee cups. There were publications recently that tell us that the shape of the coffee cups actually affect the sensory perception of drinkers, etc., etc. Just believe me when I tell you that in every point of this value chain, there is an opportunity to do research and science. And the reason why it's been so much fun, working on this, is because the curiosities never end. And if you're into science, you're sitting on a treasure trove of research, right? So now that as I inadvertently took on a bigger role in the coffee industry, we are also helping disseminate to other agencies, academic institutions to help in addressing the challenges that have been identified uh, since 2016 by the Duke University researchers. The most important of this, I think, would be the fact that there's a huge gap in the collection and distribution of research and technical knowledge. There's very little research in coffee in the Philippines. And many friends analyzed that the reason why we don't have so much is because we don't really talk about coffee that in depth. Of course, we were doing coffee science meetups in different cafes, but these are what? 1-2 hour engagements with a limited audience. So we thought that maybe let's try offering coffee science as an academic course. So this is what led to the establishment of a coffee science elective course at the LSU as a proof of concept so that other schools and other schools are actually going to do it pretty soon so that more people actually have a venue to talk about coffee at a more technical, in-depth, regular, frequent, and institutionalized manner. And thankfully, again, LaSalle allows us to do all of these things that we can think of. Of course, my boss there, the one fronting us in the black suit, is also a huge supporter of the idea. So fast forward to today, the coffee science program in LaSalle is a bestseller. It's pretty much sought after by students from different programs because it's a multidisciplinary elective course. It has gotten the interest, the attention of media, ABS-CBN, we have Spot.ph. We have a very nice article about the program written by a chemistry major who ventured into journalism eventually, Krista de la Cruz, who recently, just a few weeks ago, got an award for the article that she wrote about the coffee science program. So it's very nice collaboration as well with the communication field. And true enough, the intention was to try to show other academic institutions that something like this would probably help us address some of those challenges mentioned by the Duke University researchers. So we're now collaborating with different state universities. Two of our best friends are Mountain Province State University. It's not a polytechnic college anymore, it's a state university. And it has to do with coffee. The reason why they became a state university recently is because they were able to set up a coffee research center, which was the only thing that was separating them from being a polytechnic college and a state university. They don't have a research center prior to that. So when they inaugurated their coffee center, with the help of friends, including Bill Ristenpart, who I brought there several years ago, they are now a state university. So what is field work like for me? Just for you guys, when you pursue something, as long as keep practicing and keep yourself prepared with your knowledge and your skills as a scientist, as an academic, you'll end up, doing the things that you actually like doing din pala. So fieldwork for me is going around cafes, interacting with coffee shop owners, other coffee consumers, doing research. Ganda ng palusot, no? And then it's also a best excuse for me to ride my motorcycle to go to farms, different provinces, which is again, perfect excuse. Of course, a lot of information dissemination. So joining coffee, what you call this, BGC Coffee Fest, mga ganyan. Because you really have to scar you're not supposed to just be talking to scientists. You're supposed to talk to um, basically all of the stakeholders of the industry that you're. And then sometimes when I have free time, I really love doing part-time barista work in the cafes of my friends because it's very embarrassing if you're a scientist on coffee and you don't even know what it feels like you know being a barista or being a farmer for that matter. All right. So now the cast in De La Salle University has grown not just on the part of the students, but even among faculty members. We now have an increasingly what you call this an increasingly bigger group. We call ourselves the Pour Over Thinkers Club. We have here professors from the College of Engineering, then the College of Business. And during our weekly Wednesday coffee sessions, we talk about research ideas. And it's nice talking to them as well. I look forward to this every week because I get to learn from uh, their perspective on things. For example, my question, problems in the coffee industry is how do we actually put a value on coffee? Right now, there is no criteria. And there are very interesting insights from the likes of Dr. Ivan Gue, who's the chair of the Mechanical Engineering Department, Dr. Jonna Baquillas, who's into marketing. She's a business researcher. So maganda yung mga perspectives that they give. And hopefully this would result in research undertakings as well over a good cup of coffee. All right. So that's I only have 50 minutes, so these are basically what I do. This weekend, shameless plug, if you're in the PAASE area and you're probably in MOA, you might want to drop by the Makina Moto Expo. We have set up our booth there to serve good coffee. So yeah, as a motorcycle hobbyist, I also have this network introducing better coffee to motorcycle riders. So here we are now promoting science as well to motorcycle riders. And then a month from now, you might want to also attend the Philippine Coffee Expo at Juan Ayala, okay, which if practically anything and everything about coffee will be there. Okay, so just an invitation to you guys. So thank you so much. I hope you realize that if you're you think you're good at science and you just stick to your discipline, somehow there's a chance that you might actually end up working on what you really like because you're prepared. Right? And nothing actually beats doing what you do best it's stuff that you really like doing. And sabi nga ni Sherwin kanina, yun, parang ikigai. Diba? Not really getting paid much, but I'm happy with my job. So that's good enough. It's not all about money all the time. All right. So thank you very much, everyone. Hope you have some questions later. Yep. Okay. Good morning. See you in a bit.
Thank you very much, Mel. Okay, so please
Thank you.
stay and for the Q&A. All right, so let's call on Dr. Kokoy to introduce our last speaker for today.
Yes.
Kokoy.
Yes. Can you please flash the. Okay, we're down to our last speaker, but of course would be very interesting topic as well. So, Dr. Riza Batista-Navarro is a senior lecturer in text mining at the Department of Computer Science of the University of Manchester. Riza holds a PhD degree in computer science with specialization in text mining. In her work, she focuses on the development of natural language processing, methods for information extraction, explainable text classification, machine reading comprehension, and language modeling. She has led a number of interdisciplinary text mining projects in which she developed computational approaches together with collaborators from various domains such as biomedicine, biodiversity, sustainability, and online safety. Her more recently funded projects have focused on the development of novel text mining methods with applications to the environmental sciences, the legal sector, and the creative sector, including a British Council funded fellowship program for early career researchers in, I'm sorry, an Innovate UK Accelerated Knowledge Transfer Project, a knowledge models for analyzing legal communications, and an AHRC project on using AI to search through community generated digital content. So please welcome Dr. Riza Batista-Navarro. Ma'am?
Hi, yes, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm gonna start sharing my screen. Yeah, can you see my slides?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Okay, good morning, everyone. And well, a very early morning from the UK. I'm Riza Batista-Navarro, and I'm based in Manchester, UK. I'm a senior lecturer in text mining, and I work in the Department of Computer Science at the University of Manchester. So, as you can see from the title of my presentation today, essentially, my research is focused on AI or artificial intelligence, which is quite timely because a lot of industries, a lot of sectors nowadays, as you probably know, are really using AI in many of their workflows and in many of their processes. So essentially, what I'm going to talk about today is how I'm using my work in AI and in natural language processing to build bridges and to make connections with other researchers who work in domains which are outside of computer science. I will start by showing my current online profile at the University of Manchester website. So essentially, if you look at my name, Riza Batista-Navarro, you will find a research page at the University of Manchester web pages or the University of Manchester portal, which shows exactly this. Essentially, what I wanted to highlight here is this a bunch of little colorful squares at the bottom. So I think many of us are familiar with the UN or United Nations Sustainable Development Goals or SDGs. So essentially in this web page, what the University of Manchester does is to highlight how our research is connected to the contribution of this towards the sustainable development goals. So as you can see here, there are some icons which relate to good health and well-being, responsible consumption and production, peace, justice, and strong institutions, and so on. So you might wonder, what is a computer scientist like Riza, who works in natural language processing and AI, have to do with these sustainable development goals, which are clearly nothing to do with computer science. So that's what I'm going to try to answer in the rest of my presentation. So I will start by giving you an overview of my educational background. So essentially, I grew up in Batangas City. I did my elementary and high school in St. Bridget College in Batangas City. And then after that, I went to university in the University of the Philippines, Diliman or UP Diliman. And there I did my bachelor's in computer science degree and my master's in computer science degree. And then in 2009, I went to the UK, to Manchester specifically, to pursue a degree in a PhD degree in computer science. Essentially, that's kind of that's how I established my academic background. Let's put it that way. In terms of professional background, like what kind of work I've done, essentially, let's just say I've always been into teaching. I haven't really decided, or I haven't really explored any work outside of teaching. So when I got my bachelor's degree from the University of the Philippines, Diliman, right after that, I became an instructor in the Department of Computer Science there. And then while I was doing my master's, I continued to teach as an instructor. And then when I went to Manchester to pursue a PhD, obviously I had to stop teaching. But after I managed to get my PhD in the University of Manchester, immediately I became what we call a postdoc in the UK, which is essentially short for postdoctoral research associate, meaning it's somebody who has their PhD degree working on a particular research project. And then I did that for 2 years, from 2014 to 2016. And then in 2016, I became an academic, or what we call a lecturer in the UK at the University of Manchester in the Department of Computer Science. And then a couple of years ago, I became what we call a senior lecturer or associate professor at the University of Manchester. So, of course, like I said, I'm kind of saying, I really like teaching, as you can probably see, and now I'm really happy to show or to say that in my teaching, I'm actually able to talk about the things that I'm passionate about when it comes to research. So luckily, the things that I am being asked to teach are actually course units which are very close to my heart and very close to my research. So for example, I teach Introduction to Artificial Intelligence, or Introduction to AI, which is a unit for year 2 bachelor students. I also teach Natural Language Understanding, which is an advanced course for students who like to specialize or who want to specialize in NLP. And this is something that's taken by final year bachelor students. And lastly, I also teach a text mining unit, which is a postgraduate course for master students, again, in the Department of Computer Science. So I'll start by kind of showing a screenshot of the very first paper that I published as somebody who's working in AI. So essentially, as part of my bachelor's project, which I did with 2 other people as a group. Back then, face recognition was still kind of, very niche or very, very uncommon and very interesting. Of course, nowadays we know that there's already a lot of systems which kind of, do face recognition. So probably this is not too exciting anymore. But in back then, yeah, a long time ago, face recognition was kind of a really specialist, and we focused on face recognition for images taken using mobile phones. And this was published in a Philippine conference. And so essentially for me, that was a starting point, in the sense that I found out that, I like doing this. I like doing research, and I like writing papers, and so on. So that was kind of a milestone. At the time, my focus, as you can see from the topic of face recognition, is computer vision. So it's still within AI, obviously, but it has to do with allowing machines or allowing computers to make sense of the visual environment by processing images, processing videos, and so on. So nothing to do with text at the time. Even in my master's, I didn't focus on face recognition anymore, but I focused on analyzing CT scans to detect lung nodules, for the purposes of lung cancer screening and so on. So again, computer vision focused. The turning point for me was when I did my PhD, because at that point I decided to switch from computer vision to natural language processing and text mining. So NLP is quite a broad field. So nowadays, when you hear ChatGPT, right? So we're now talking about large language models. Obviously, this technology didn't exist back then. However, even back then, we have quite interesting problems like what we call information extraction, which is trying to understand and trying to extract really fine-grained information from a lot of textual content. For example, a lot of scientific articles. So that's what I did for my PhD, essentially mining information or mining knowledge from a lot of biomedical research papers, specifically papers which talk about chemistry. Yeah, so the one of the papers which I published was while I was doing my PhD was something about automatically recognizing or extracting names of chemical named entities from text. And as part of that, we built like what we call a text mining workflow, because when you talk about text mining, you're not just talking about one step, you're actually talking about several steps in the pipeline or in the workflow. Hence, it is helpful to build a workflow where each step in the pipeline is a separate task. And that's why I have this image here of a workflow. When I say extracting fine-grained information from text, just to exemplify that, so you can see here a screenshot where I have a piece of text here, which is from the scientific domain. As you can see, there's a lot of chemical compound names, sorry. The idea of natural language processing is to be able to actually pick out specifically names of chemical entities or names of genes or names of proteins. So that was kind of the end goal of mining the literature using information extraction. So my PhD project was focused on applying NLP and text mining on biomedical content or in the biomedical domain. So even then, in my PhD, I already had this kind of thinking of developing AI methods, specifically NLP methods or NLP models, which have the purpose of being useful to people working in other domains, such as biomedicine. Since then, so I got my PhD in 2014, so that's more than 10 years ago now. Since then, I've had a nice opportunity to further develop my expertise, so that instead of just focusing on biomedicine, I've actually managed to extend to other domains. So now, at the moment, I actually lead a research group in the University of Manchester, which we call Artemis, which is short for Artificial Intelligence and Text Mining for Social Good. So the keyword here is social good, so it's not just AI and text mining, full stop, but it's particularly for social good. So what I mean by that is that we develop novel techniques, we develop novel approaches in text mining in NLP, but with a particular view to making a positive impact in domains outside of computer science. For example, environmental science, digital humanities, politics, and sustainability. So just to give you an idea of kind of, how let's just say, I don't want to say popular, but how important the field of NLP is. It's become really attractive to undergraduate students and master students finishing their degree, wanting to do a PhD, again because of the demand for AI and NLP in the market. So at the moment, I have one postdoctoral researcher in the group. I have ongoing PhD students, altogether 12 students who are all working on NLP-focused projects. In the past, I've had 7 students who successfully completed their PhD. And then apart from that, I'm not just a main supervisor of the students. I also co-supervise students with other academics or other researchers in the university. At the moment, I have 7 that I'm co-supervising. And then in the past, 10 students already completed their PhDs, whom I was co-supervising with other academics. So yeah, so it's kind of a really vibrant community of a very active field, again because of the need for AI coming from other domains. So this is what I mean by building bridges. So you can be specializing in something very technical, something very, very focused on computer science like AI, natural language processing, even computer vision. But you can be working with collaborators outside of your domain in order to help them solve or address their problems. So these are some examples of projects which we're working on, or we have worked on in our lab. So for example, the one called Module, this is focused on developing an LLM or large language model to understand the language used in the legal domain. Another completed project is eCare, or emissions calculator for recipes, which I'm going to talk about in a bit shortly. And this is focused on using NLP for sustainability purposes. And then some ongoing projects include fellowship program, the one which is funded by the British Council, which is for using AI to enhance environmental resilience. And then we have something which is focusing on the creative sector, which is analyzing videos and TV programs using multimodal large language models. So just a couple more slides to talk about the eCare, or emissions calculator for recipes. So this is essentially a project with the end goal of trying to raise the awareness of consumers about the carbon footprint of the food that they eat. So I don't know how many in the room like eating. I mean, probably a lot, but also like cooking their own food, right? So when somebody's cooking or regularly cooking their own food, most likely you are looking up recipes online, I don't know, in YouTube or websites or blogs. So the point of the eCare project is to use NLP to estimate the carbon footprint of a given recipe. So when you go to a recipe website, more often than not, you will find currently nutrition information. So what we're trying to do here is, instead of calculating nutrition information like calories, sugar content, and so on, we're calculating or estimating the carbon footprint of food based on the list of ingredients in the recipe, as well as the cooking processes described in the instructions. So that's how, given a recipe, we're able to estimate the carbon footprint, for example, here. And apart from that, you can also use NLP and machine learning to try to automatically substitute high carbon ingredients with lower carbon substitutes. So for example, in this example recipe, you have chicken thigh. If, for example, assuming that this is a high carbon ingredient, AI can be used to predict or to suggest an alternative to this ingredient, which is lower carbon, and that helps the user to kind of to cook and to eat food or dishes which are lower carbon. And then importantly, these results from AI, they're probably useless without actually presenting them to the user in a way that can be engaging for them. So then we had to develop a web browser extension to present these results. So just to give an idea of kind of, how NLP works kind of, in a real world application. As I said earlier, NLP and text mining usually require a pipeline or a workflow of different components. So we had to do the same for eCare or for this project. So essentially, if you have input recipes or online web pages with recipes, you have to do a number of steps in NLP to be able to extract the information before you can actually calculate the carbon footprint. So you have to do what we call name entity recognition, where you recognize the name of food, the quantity of food. You have to also do a step called event extraction, which is recognizing which steps are involved, like, is it baking, is it grilling, roasting, frying, and so on. You have to connect the named entities or to link the named entities to the names in a standard database, so that you can look up how much carbon footprint each food item has according to a curated knowledge base on carbon footprint, before you can actually do all the calculations. And that's only for the carbon footprint estimate. And on the other hand, you also have, as I said, we also suggest substitutions. So for that, we train a machine learning model, essentially, which detects similarity between a given ingredient and an ingredient which is contained in our database of food items. And here it's also quite fun because we used crowdsourcing to ask people for their opinion what are suitable substitution or alternatives for high carbon ingredients. So we asked them, okay, if this is the recipe and it has beef, for example, what do you think can beef be swapped with so that it's still the same recipe or it's still a similar recipe with a similar flavor, but with a lower carbon. So when I say that, of course, you have to present these results to users. So we developed a Chrome browser plugin or a Chrome browser extension. So what it does is, if you're online and you're using your Chrome web browser, you go to a recipe web page such as the one that you see on the screen. We have a plugin that you can enable, and it will automatically read that recipe and display the estimated carbon footprint, as you can see here. And this is using a traffic light color coding system. It's green if it's low carbon, it's amber or orange if it's medium level carbon, and it's red if it's high carbon. And then additionally, we have this right panel here being displayed, which is for kind of interpreting or putting some context around what does this carbon footprint estimate mean, what is it roughly equivalent to in terms of, let's say, driving a car. And then it also identifies the high carbon ingredients, which we define as anything that contains more than 20% of the overall carbon footprint of the recipe. And finally, the substitution suggestions, as you can see here, are provided at the bottom. So yeah, so to finish or to wrap up, I want to circle back to part of the slide that I first at the very beginning. So to answer that question, how is it possible that somebody in computer science, who's passionate about writing code, yeah, and programming, let's put it that way, how is it possible that their work is linked to sustainable development goals? It's very much possible because there's a lot of demand, there's a lot of need for AI from domains outside of computer science. So, for example, in my case, even if my specialization is focused on natural language processing and text mining, I'm able to work with collaborators outside of computer science that allows me to contribute towards the sustainability development goals that you can see here, such as good health and well-being and sustainability and peace and justice. So I think I'll end with that, and I'll be more than happy to take questions later on. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Riza, for that inspiring talk. So before we move on to the Q&A portion, we would like to first give our certificate of appreciation to our speakers. And after that, we'll proceed to the open forum. So let me start with giving this certificate of appreciation to Dr. Anthony Fung Chiu, PhD, for graciously sharing his expertise as a speaker during the first leg of Unlocking the Future, Exploring Careers in STEAM on April 5, 2025 via the Zoom platform, given this 5th day of April 2025. Signed yours truly, the President of PAASE and PAASE Vice President, Dr. Maria Margaret Peña. Thank you once again, Anthony, for sharing your career to all of these young future scientists. And we look forward to the Q&A portion. So smile, we'll have a photo op first. Thank you. Thank you very much. And then we'd like to move on to the next speaker now. Next, yes. Okay, so this certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to Dr. Sherwin Uap for graciously sharing his expertise as a speaker during the first leg of Unlocking the Future, Exploring Careers in STEAM on April 5, 2025 via the Zoom platform. Signed yours truly, PAASE President and PAASE Vice President, Dr. Maria Margaret Peña. Thank you again, Sherwin Uap, for your very inspiring talk. And I'm sure there will be a lot of questions later on during the open forum. And the next certificate of appreciation is given to Dr. Riza Batista-Navarro for obviously for sharing her expertise as a speaker during the first leg of Unlocking the Future, exploring careers in STEAM rather, on April 5, 2025 via the Zoom platform. And signed again yours truly and our Vice President, Dr. Marge Peña. And last but not the least, oh wait, smile muna. Smile. Oh, did we take a picture with Sherwin? Sorry, I forgot. Riza, could you please open your video again? Yes. So that smile. Thank you. And then, Sherwin, could you please go back? I think we didn't have a picture with you. Sherwin, are you still there? Yeah, thank you. Wait lang. Smile. Coco, you should join us. Okay. Next. Then last but not least to Mel Garcia. The certificate of appreciation is proudly presented to Dr. Emmanuel Garcia for graciously sharing his expertise as a speaker during the first leg of Unlocking the Future, Exploring Careers in STEAM on April 5, 2025 via the Zoom platform. Signed, yours truly, and Marge Peña as the Vice President and me as the PAASE President. Thank you very much, Mel. May course tayo ng science, science in milk and coffee. Okay. Angie?
Picture? Nag-picture na kayo.
Yes. Okay, dapat picture na. Okay. One more. Smile. Thank you. Okay, so we're done with the presentation of the certificates. The floor is now open to the Q&A. So do we have questions from the participants? So Kokoy, please join me here. And then all the speakers, please open your video so we can start having our open forum. Yan. Anthony, please join us.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. Yes.
Yan.
Yan. Any questions ba? Can you see the Jen's chat box? Are they all very shy kids? We have at one point we had 48 attendees, and now we have 43 attendees, but we have 93 viewers on our Facebook live streaming. So madami po tayo. Thank you again very much. So Kokoy, do you want to ask the first question dyan sa ating mga speakers?
Yeah, thank you po, very interesting lahat yung yung topics ninyo at nakaka-relate ako. And I'd like to start with yung sa coffee. Siguro na-receive ni Sir Mel yung nag-private message ako sa kanya eh. Meron ako sinend na yung sa coffee coffee processing and yung sa byproduct niya yung pagka nagamit na siya yung used coffee ground. Kasi nasa 3D printing ako, Press Gladys, di ba? So, bigla akong ni-research kanina ano yung connection naming dalawa ni Sir Mel. So, yung coffee ground, pwedeng i-3D print at makagawa ng ilang mga pots for planting. That's one. At pwedeng makagawa ng iba-ibang design. And diretso na sa sa pagtatanim at pwede nang idiretso sa lupa. And pwede kong matanong, Sir Mel, ano pa yung ibang, kasi ang dami nagkakape ngayon eh. Yung pick up coffee, ang dami na Starbucks, ang dami na coffee shops na natayo. Anong ginagawa nila sa mga used coffee grounds nila? Tinatapon lang or anong ginagawa?
Tinatapon lang. Yung iba pinamimigay lang nila, hinahalo lang sa mga soil mix.
Okay, pang fertilizer Yeah, good. So we can probably add some more value para medyo tumaas yung pwede may may presyo, magkaroon pa ng dagdag na presyo instead of pataba lang or itatapon lang siya. So those are researchable areas, and I would like to say to everyone na mula sa pagtatanim hanggang sa pagbabaon sa lupa ulit ay pwedeng pagkakitaan itong sa coffee industry, ano, yung mga byproducts niya rin. And yeah. So kung may tanong po kayo, kay Sir
Well,
Anthony naman. Yeah.
Sherwin here. Okay, if I may just add, you were talking about coffee grounds and gawing paso. I just learned yesterday na one of my friends in Boracay is actually importing coffee straws made out of coffee grounds. So baka pwede rin natin ma-explore on our end yung
Okay.
paggawa ng straw because sa Boracay lalo na they consume a lot of those and it's
Right.
biodegradable. I
Yeah.
think na-dissolve siya in like 2 weeks, ganyan.
Right. Yeah. So
Yeah,
parang papasyal ako sa coffee at event ni sa May 9 to 11. Try kong
I just want to add also, no?
Yeah.
Tama yung sabi ni Sherwin eh. Decades ago, no, we have been using bakas, yung mga lahat ng mga biomass, no, material para circular economy. Kasi yung circular economy, although this is a new term reinvented again by the European Union, but it was as early as 2002, meron na batas sa China on circular economy. And Asia nakumpisa yon. So I think we have to make sure, no, yung mga values. Being a scientist, we can find a higher value for every usable, no, na usage of these materials. Although they are recycled, pero iba yung value ng downcycling, iba yung value ng equicycling, saka iba yung value ng upcycling. So
Right.
we have to find the best value out of it. Thank you.
Right. Value adding in different ways. Yeah, ang nakakatuwa din na Press Gladys tong si Sir Anthony. Yeah, nasa industrial engineering pero ang dami niya nang I mean, siya, nag-branch out sa ibang medyo kakaibang field on sustainability and circular economy at hindi lang sa Pilipinas, globally pa ano. At yun diyan makikita sa mga students natin, diyan makikita na yung course namin kami sa industrial engineering, pwede kami kahit saan yung isalpak.
Nag-advertise na si Kokoy.
Yes.
Ano po yan?
Nag-advertise ka ng IE.
Career orientation to eh. Yeah. Pwede ka sa manufacturing, pwede ka sa logistics, sa environmental sustainability and others.
But if I'm not mistaken, no, if you remember, I said three things. At the beginning of the century, there are three most important issues, no? Sustainability, IT, which is now evolved into AI, no, from big data into AI, and then the last one is the medical science. Itong tatlong area pa rin hanggang ngayon, no change. Robotics, it's still robotics, automation, big data. They are supporting each other in the AI arena. So ito pa rin tatlong most important scientific items.
Of course, may I contribute? Of course, let's not forget chemistry, which is the central science.
Well, of course, medical science are from those sciences, of course.
So because Mel and I are both chemists, and then we're also very inspired about Riza's presentation where she's doing the carbon printing yung application, right? Could you please explore more and inspire our students how you are applying AI?
Yeah, sure. So that's probably one of my favorite kind of applications because everybody eats, right? And as I said, we're probably all interested in food, either because we want to eat it or people like cooking. It's more about building that awareness that everything we do nowadays could potentially contribute to the carbon footprint, and this has implications on kind of sustainability and the environment. So it's more about kind of using computer science and AI to help people kind of become more aware of environmental issues, which are obviously very important nowadays. But that's not the only application of AI and NLP. I'm sure a lot of our students, a lot of members of our audience are familiar with large language models like ChatGPT and many others, right? So I mean, you can see how businesses have started to adopt large language models, to improve efficiency, for example, and to improve productivity. In medicine, which was also mentioned earlier, it's been used to AI more generally to use to detect illnesses or to interpret information from images and so on. So I think what I'm trying to say is that 80% of the data in the world are actually unstructured data, meaning data which is not yet in databases, which are not yet in tabular form, data that we have yet to make sense of. Only 20% are in structured form where you can just query using, a database. So the question here is, what do we do with that 80%? And my answer is that why not try to use AI and NLP, for example, to try to make sense of that data, because once you have unlocked or once you have interpreted that data, you can actually unlock a lot of knowledge from that data. So for example, you can from a collection of newspaper articles, for example, which are all in text, obviously, you can suddenly build a database of, I don't know, all the events which happened since, I don't know, World War II or something, or let's say Filipino newspapers. So one application is we can probably track all the events which happened during the Philippine history, things like that. And you can have a search system saying, okay, tell me all of the events that happened since, I don't know, 1980, for example, instead of having to read manually all these newspapers. So there's really a lot of applications which could help not only other specialists, but also everyday people, so just everyday users. So I find that kind of, really interesting because, thinking that your work could affect even just the kind of, an everyday consumer or an everyday kind of, lay person.
Yes, so there's a question here from Angie. Angie,
Oh,
could you
yeah.
open your video and maybe you could ask your question and share it with us instead of us reading?
Okay,
Yes.
actually, I have two questions. One for Riza is so based on the carbon footprint that are recorded from the database, can those be utilized or used to provide like suggestions or how we can improve diet and nutrition for different regions or places? And then for Sherwin, for robotics, on behalf of the students, maybe I want to ask what is the cost of entry for students to start robotics because they looks expensive. So is it easy to start for students with very minimal allowance? How easy for them to start robotics?
Ladies first.
Thank you. Yeah, so that's a very good question. Actually, that's one of the things that would be nice as a follow-up project, which is how do you balance the trade-offs between carbon footprint and nutrition? You see what I mean? So these are kind of this. You can look at this as sort of competing or equally important kind of factors, right? So you don't want to eat just plant-based diet, if it's not giving you the nutrients that you need, for your health. You need protein and so on and so forth, right? You're completely right that, carbon footprint is not the only factor to take into account. Obviously, you have to factor in nutrition, you're still maintaining a healthy diet. Also, a third factor would be the cost, so there is a prevailing assumption that if you're eating vegan or plant-based substitutions, that you're actually paying more or it's more expensive than kind of, just meat-based. So there, let's just say these are competing factors. So that's one of the things that would be nice to do as a follow-on project. We haven't managed to do it yet, but to answer your question, Angie, definitely, I think there is a need to. It's the same in the UK, really. Like there's a lot of statistics showing that unfortunately the rate of obesity is not getting any better, or let's just say it is a health public health problem. And of course, one of the strategies would be to try to change people's thinking about what they eat. Instead of eating a lot of junk food, eat healthier and things like that. So I think there is definitely scope there to use NLP as well. But instead of just caring about carbon footprint, you also care about the nutritional value, or you kind of balance between these 2 or 3 different factors. So yeah, thanks for the question, Angie.
And then Sherwin?
The question for me, Angie, was yung cost of entry for students who are interested in robotics or no. And you're right, it looks expensive. That is the reason why I really struggled in the beginning to start. No, usually when you talk about robotics, a robotics kit would cost you around 25 to 50,000 each. So what ended happening during a few years back is that maybe 15 students will share one kit, and so schools can only afford a certain number of kits. The goal of what I'm trying to do is, yung strategy ko nga is robotics for all. What we want to do is to make the cost of robotics similar to a textbook that you spent. So maybe around 900 pesos. And we're closing in on that. Of course, alam naman natin most of the students now would have their own laptops or even cell phones, diba? So let me just give an example on how we are doing it. So last year we inaugurated 8 schools, and then I just received the impact report yesterday, 2 weeks ago. Para makatipid, what we did was we asked laptops, yung mga 3-year-old laptops or 4-year-old laptops from big companies, because we probably know, no, big companies, they change their laptops in about 3 to 4 years. No, meron silang asset refresh ang tinatawag nila, and then they just sell it to companies like yung mga disposal companies like HMR and all for around 700 900 pesos per laptop. No? And these are laptops that are 4-year-olds. Yung mga trainers ko nga, they have laptops that are 7 to 10 years old. So you can actually use them. So what I did was ask 100 plus of those, and then distributed it to the public school that cannot afford their own computer lab. And then we injected, medyo mahal pa ngayon, around 3,000 pesos per kit na for them to learn robotics. But really the dream is to be to go below below 1,000 per student, so that each student would have their own kit. Ngayon nag-share pa sila, 4 or 5 sila nag-share with them. So quick answer pala is that from 50,000 it will be down to 900 pesos.
Thank
Very
you.
nice.
Yeah, quick question, Press, Sir Sherwin. Kasi kami dito rin sa Bataan, ang gusto rin namin ay may turo yung robotics and 3D printing at the cheapest possible setup or way. We partnered with parang distributor ng 3D printer at ng mga Arduino. And ang isang challenge namin yung computer, yung laptop. So saan makakakuha quick question na. Saan pwede makakuha ng mura at yung pwede na dun sa mga robotics? Yeah. Or anong brand or model ang pwede?
Siguro yung Arduino is like black and white text na programming lang yun, di ba? So you
Okay.
don't really need very powerful PCs. Even yung pwede lang magkaroon ng internet connection to download the Arduino IDE, and then black and white na yun. So sobrang dami kang pwedeng lapitan ng mga big companies. Alam naman natin sobrang laki ng BPO industry natin dito sa country, di ba? So you can just actually approach them, tell them na, instead of selling it to a disposal company, why don't you give it to us? We will install free yung mga Linux, ang tawag ng Linux na mga systems, kasi yung Windows mahal yan, ano ba? Yung mga Microsoft na. So there are free softwares that can make the computer run, and then you would install yung IDE. So sobrang baba lang yung kailangan na requirements for you to start programming.
Okay. Yeah, right. So maybe to talk at some other time regarding the
Yes,
other
yes.
side. Thank you, Sherwin.
So so I have a general question for all of the speakers. These for the students who are, I think, very shy to ask the question. So what I would like all of you to answer this. What are the key skills and qualities you think need to succeed in STEAM careers? Okay, so maybe we'll start with Mel, although you already started saying about this during your talk. So
Well, for me, it's just keeping staying curious about things eh. Kasi once you're motivated in figuring out answers to certain problems, susunod na yung yung skills development, yung knowledge acquisition. Hindi mo naman tatrabahuhin kasi yung hindi ka interesado eh. So as long as you're perpetually curious about stuff, being a student of the world, no? Lifelong learner. Other things can be developed eh. Parang parang sa sports, kung interesado ka sa basketball, mapapag-aralan mo na siya. Pero kung hindi ka naman interesado doon, kahit anong practice mo, it's not getting anywhere. So, yun lang.
Very good advice, Mel. And then, who wants to go next? Po? Anthony? Yes.
Ako, simple lang, teamwork. I think for me, very important is two heads, three heads are better than one, definitely. And think big also. So I always I'm anti-poor, but I'm also anti-pro-poor. What do I mean by anti-pro-poor? I believe that our country and our people, our human resources, are one of the smartest people in this planet. No, so we should not keep thinking that we are poor. So we should not always thinking of pro-poor. We should be progressive. No, so we should be a world leader. So working together among ourselves or working together with other nationality, I'm definitely confident we can be great. Thank you.
Next.
I can probably chime in na. So for my end, it's lifelong learning. So you have to realize that however old you are, you you don't want to just stop learning. For example, nag-graduate ka na. Yun yung in-imagine ko before when I graduate college. So this is what I'll be doing na. So yun na yun. But I only realized when I turned 40 na, hey, marami pa pala ako pwedeng matutunan. So I started relearning robotics, and it opened up a lot of opportunities for me. So even when you're when you're a senior citizen, you should probably still try to learn new things because it'll be exciting for you.
Sherwin, ako lang qualify dito yung dual citizen.
Napatingin ako sa inyo, sir.
Yes, and Riza?
Yeah, so I think everything that's been said kind of resonates with me. So I agree. Motivation and also team working. The only thing I'd like to add is keep an open mind. And listening is a skill that is really good to have. I know today we've been talking and so on, but another important skill is when you're especially when you're working in a team or you're trying to make connections with people outside of your domain, one has to learn how to properly listen and to try to understand what the other people are saying. So for example, in engineering, we tend to think, oh yeah, we can implement, we can develop a solution. But really, we need to listen properly. What is the actual need? Is what we're developing actually meeting the need? And to understand that need, you need to keep an open mind and try to listen and understand to what the other people or what the users are actually telling you.
There you go. All of these are sound advices. So, can we ask all the participants to please open your camera for a group picture, and then yes, and then Coco, you have additional questions, and again, this is being recorded, so and being live streamed, so anybody could just watch this again, and so please open your cameras. And Billy, thank you very much for joining. And Marge, do you have a question, Billy? Well, and Marge? Angie, nag-group picture na ba tayo? Hindi pa.
Konti lang nagbukas. Sige, we'll take the picture. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
And then we also have a survey form that's available in the chat box. So please answer this and you'll have a certificate of participation. So yes. Yes, Billy, you have a question or Marge
By
before?
the way, I want to acknowledge the presence of Marge Peña is here.
Yes, she was.
Hi,
Hi,
Anthony.
Marge.
Yes,
Thank you.
We'll be hosting the next session next week. So,
Yeah.
Coco, do you want to share the speakers? Angie, can we have the PowerPoint for the next session? And then again, thank you very much for all of
Thank you, everyone. Very inspiring.
yes.
Thank you, everyone.
Ang gaganda ng mga kwento ninyo.
I
Inspired
know,
ako.
very inspiring. Okay.
Yeah.
Coming events, yes. Kokoy?
Yeah. Thank you to all our speakers for today. It's very interesting yung mga discussions and experiences. And for next week, no, not next week.
Yes, next week.
Next week, yeah. April 12. Same time, 9 a.m. till 11. We have Dr. Mariano Santo Domingo, our immediate past president for social sciences, and Lawrence David, PhD from Duke University. We'll talk about microbiology, and for mathematics and statistics, it will be Dr. Debbie Marie Berzosa. So from the University of Southern Mindanao. The activity or the webinar will be co-hosted by Dr. Carmen Ablan Dagman, and of course, Dr. Angeline Lau and President Gladys. And another one for April 26. For government, it will be USEC Maridon Sahagon, USEC for DOST, and Dr. Lorente Bonyaga for the industry. He's working at Merck and Company USA. For startups, we have Joel Ilaw, a professor at the De La Salle University, and for chemical engineering, we have Dr. Kathleen Aviso as well from De La Salle University. It will be co-moderated by President Gladys and Angeline. And anything else?
The APAMS.
Yeah, and then we have this APAMS on July 19 to 20, 2025 at the University of South Carolina, which will be hosted by our Vice President, Marge Peña. Hello, ma'am.
You're all invited.
Yeah. So please
Lipat na kayo.
submit your abstracts for oral and poster presentation. So we have a poster competition, and on July 15 to 16, it will be the REC Symposium. It's an online event. We'll also have a poster competition on those dates, July 15 and 16 in the Philippine time, and 14 to 15 US time. What else? And we'll have an in-person meeting, on July 19 to 20. So yung lahat ng makakapunta, everyone, we are all invited. I actually received my maybe three invitation letters from VP Mark. I'm sorry for that. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So what else? Please scan the QR code. Yeah.
Your grad fellow slide there, Angie. So we are inviting all of you to please encourage your graduate students to apply for this 2025 graduate fellows. And being a fellow, you don't have to pay the registration fee, and you will be given a chance to present a poster. And if selected, you will be one of the finalists where we have prizes, monetary prizes, right? So 7,000 pesos for the first prize, 5,000 for the second prize, and then 3,000 for the third prize, and 1,500 or 2,000 for all of the finalists. So please encourage your student. Doesn't have to be graduate student, and even if you are a student just recently graduated, he or she
can still join.
Yes, and Anthony, if you have one, please, and of course Kokoy and all the other participants here. You don't have to be a mentor who is a PAASE member. As long as you have a graduate student, please encourage your graduate students to apply for this graduate fellowship.
Okay.
Yes. So, is there...
Pwede ba pahabol?
Yes?
I want to also announce April 15 is the last day or deadline for nominating 2025 Severino and Pasco lectureship awards for science and engineering. So may oras pa ha?
Lots of time.
Yes.
10 days na lang.
Yeah, Riza, if you have a graduate student who will be interested, who can present a poster, please encourage.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I actually took note of the event.
Yeah.
Very much, everybody. Ayan.
Okay.
Very inspiring. Parang gusto ko ulit mag-aral.
Ako din eh.
Oo nga eh. Ba't walang ganito nung tayo yung nasa high school?
I know. So Sherwin, ano kayang tatanong mo sa sarili mo when you turn 50, you just turned 40. Paano when you turn 50 and you turn 60?
Ang gusto ko yung yung ni Sherwin, yung mental control para hindi ko na kailangan gumagalaw, no? Control ko yan. Tapos, Mel, ikaw naman taga-provide ng kape. Yan.
Yes. We have our milk and science coffee. Milk and coffee science course, elective course. I'm inviting Mel to the lecture in UPLB. We'll offer an elective course. Siyempre, I'm into milk science. So Mel is into coffee science. So we'll merge it.
Parang kulang isa, milk, coffee, and sugar. Asan yung sugar?
Yes, we'll include sugar for sure. Very good suggestion. Okay, maraming salamat po.
Thank
Happy
you.
weekend.
Thank you.